Hey guys, it's Nadine here from the Millennial Math Teacher. Today I wanted to share with you my go-to argument for why Common Core is not evil. A lot of parents I hear over and over again complain about Common Core, and it's so confusing and it's not the way I was taught it, and I understand math just fine, so why do we have to change it? And so I love this example to show parents why Common Core is actually helping kids. So it comes into play when we start multiplying and learning to multiply double-digit numbers in elementary school. So when we were in school, even me as a millennial, when I was in elementary school, if we were given two numbers to multiply, two double-digit numbers, so say 73 and 26. We had to multiply them. This is how we would set it up, right? We line them up, we make our columns, and then we go through and start multiplying, okay? In Common Core, they have taught students to make a little square, similar to Punnett squares in biology. And so we break the numbers up into their digits. And so we make this little Punnett square, and so we have 70 and 3 and 20 and 6, and then you go through and you multiply and you fill in the box, and then you add up all your pieces. So, I should have done this beforehand. Let me do this really quick. 7 times 6, oh gosh, is 42. I forgot for a minute. And then, so we fill in all of the squares, okay? And that's not too hard a multiplication for us to handle, right? So we go through and fill in those squares and we write out what is the result. So we end up with 1,400 plus 420 plus 60 plus 18. And then you can just go through and add those up and you get your final answer, which is, let me do this in my head. 1,898. Okay? So, now, you learned that in elementary school when multiplying double-digit numbers. Once you get into high school or middle school, depending on when you get to it, and we start doing algebra, and we learn about multiplying binomials. Okay? So this is something like x plus 2 times x minus 7. Okay? Now, I show you this. Everyone knows, how do you multiply this? FOIL, right? FOIL, that's the first thing that comes to mind. What the heck does FOIL even mean? It's this whole little acronym you gotta remember, blah, 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 blah. You guys, Common Core, for the win here, okay? Let me show you. We go back to that same concept of drawing that Punnett square. Except this time, we put in the terms from our binomials, okay? Remember, these are called binomials. So we end up with, let me make sure it's on there, x and a 2, and then an x and a negative 7, okay? And then we go through and we multiply. So x times negative 7 is a negative 7x. We have an x squared. We have a negative 14 and a 2x. And then we just write out, we have x squared, and we have negative 7x, and we have a positive 2x, and we have minus 14. And we end up with this. And then all you have to do is combine your like terms, which are the two x's, and we end up with x squared minus 5x minus 14. It's the exact same algorithm. And it is so cool to me that something that these kids learned in elementary school is still applicable when they get to high school. And if you ask them, they'll be like, oh yeah, the Punnett square, I know how to do this. And it connects and it works if you do it with trinomials and a binomial. If you do two trinomials, you just expand your box and make it bigger. And it just kind of simplifies that process for them. So the other day in my Math 1 class, we were doing multiplying polynomials, and I showed them this, and they're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And I told them when I handed out their homework that they had to absolutely show their work. Some of the stuff we've been doing up to this point has been a little bit easier as far as work goes and mental math. And so for this, I said, you absolutely have to show your work. This is not something I want you doing in your head right now. And so I had a couple of kids ask, can I show my work by doing the square? And I said, absolutely, why not? And I actually had 2 kids that I'll show you a picture later, but there were 2 kids that actually used this square method for every single problem on that worksheet. There were like 34 problems. They went through and used the square on every single one. You guys, Common Core is not evil, okay? It's fine. It's so cool, these connections that these kids are making, and they're understanding what's going on. When I'm multiplying, I am multiplying each piece, okay? When you're multiplying 73 times 26, we don't understand where this is all coming from when we just do 6 times 3 and 6 times 7, and we add a 0 on the next row, and we do 2 times 3 and 2 times 7, and we add it all up. Like, where does that even come from? But in Common Core, they see that we're doing a 70 times a 20, a 70 times a 6, a 6 times a 3, and a 20 times a 3. And then we're adding that all together. And it is so cool, and it just makes all these connections, and their problem-solving skills are so much better. And their level of understanding, we're starting to see, it's starting to trickle into the high school level. These kids that have been having Common Core since, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. It's Friday, you guys. They've been having Common Core since elementary school, so these kids that are starting to come into our high school, and we can tell. And there are improvements. Now, obviously, there's some areas where we need some work still. It's always a work in progress, but I just want parents to know especially, and I also want to give an example for teachers that Common Core is not evil, okay? And it's doing good things, and Common Core itself is not these weird methods. Common Core is just a set of standards that everyone has to meet. That's my other go-to like argument or explanation, is that Common Core is not like these super weird problem-solving methods or algorithms or whatever. It's not that. Common Core is a list of standards that every kid should hit in each grade level. And so every kid who leaves 2nd grade knows how to do this and this and this. And so like for us, every kid who leaves 9th grade out of our Math 1 class should know how to find the slope from a graph, should be able to find the slope from 2 points, should be able to graph a line, should be able to solve systems of inequations and create systems of inequations and solve them. And that's just this list of standards. And then part of Common Core is these problem-solving standards that we're trying to increase their depth of understanding. And so just a little bit of fuel to your fire for why it's not a bad thing. And anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything. Happy to hear about it. Thanks for joining, guys.